Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events shaping our world. I'm your host, Walter, and we're glad you're joining us today. As we begin this episode, we want to acknowledge the disturbing trend of political violence that's been escalating in recent times. The assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk has sent shockwaves across the nation, leaving many to wonder if this is a harbinger of a larger national crisis. As we explore this story, it's essential to approach it with sensitivity and respect for all parties involved. We'll examine the various perspectives on this incident, from the outpouring of tributes to Charlie Kirk's memory to the concerns about the growing polarization and violence in our society. According to reports, Charlie Kirk's assassination has been met with a mixture of anger, sadness, and fear on Capitol Hill. House Speaker Johnson described the efforts to honor Kirk's memory, including a moment of prayer and silent reflection on the House floor. The Speaker also emphasized the need for leaders to speak truth and bring calm to the situation, invoking President Abraham Lincoln's appeal to the nation's better angels. Meanwhile, pundits and experts are weighing in on the potential consequences of this event. Some are warning that the current climate of political violence poses an existential threat to American democracy. Others argue that the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a symptom of a broader societal problem, where the erosion of civil discourse and the dehumanization of opposing viewpoints have created a toxic environment. As we navigate this complex issue, it's crucial to consider multiple viewpoints and avoid perpetuating divisive rhetoric. We'll continue to follow this story and provide updates as more information becomes available. In related news, the White House has announced a $58 million request to Congress to increase security for the executive and judicial branches in the wake of Kirk's assassination. This move is seen as an effort to address concerns about the safety of public officials and prevent similar incidents in the future. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter. We're diving into a complex and emotional topic that has sparked intense debate across the country. A recent story published in Rolling Stone highlights the human cost of immigration enforcement under the Trump administration, with a particular focus on the role of top advisor Stephen Miller. According to the article, Miller has been instrumental in pushing for stricter immigration policies, including higher arrest and deportation numbers, which have led to the separation of families like the one described in the story. The account is heartbreaking. A father, Richard, is taken away from his wife Ellen and their young daughter Jessica by ICE officers after a misunderstanding about their schedule. The details are harrowing, with Jessica screaming for her father as he's led away in handcuffs. The family's lawyer recounts the scene, saying, "I can still hear the little girl's screams." The story raises important questions about the impact of immigration policies on families and communities. It's essential to acknowledge that immigration enforcement is a complex issue, with different perspectives and opinions on how to address it. While some argue that stricter policies are necessary for national security and border control, others contend that they lead to inhumane treatment of migrants and families. In this case, the Trump administration's policies, as outlined by Miller, have been criticized for prioritizing arrest numbers over family unity and humanitarian concerns. However, it's also important to recognize that immigration enforcement is a long-standing issue that predates the current administration. As we examine this story, it's crucial to consider multiple viewpoints and the nuances of the topic. We must also acknowledge the human cost of these policies and the emotional toll they take on families like Richard's. The article quotes Miller as saying that liberals promoting immigrant families' sob stories are engaging in emotional blackmail. This statement highlights the deeply polarized nature of the debate, with some viewing these stories as a necessary reminder of the human impact of policy decisions, while others see them as manipulative or exploitative. As we navigate this complex issue, it's essential to approach the topic with empathy and understanding, recognizing the valid concerns on both sides. By doing so, we can work towards a more informed and nuanced discussion about immigration enforcement and its effects on families and communities. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Good evening, and welcome back to the Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter. We've got a great closing segment for you tonight, with news from across the Atlantic that's making waves in the world of finance. As we reported earlier, Britain is hailing investments by U.S. finance firms ahead of President Donald Trump's state visit. The investments, totaling $125 billion, will create 8,800 jobs in London, Edinburgh, Belfast, and Manchester. Companies like PayPal, Citigroup, Bank of America, and S&P Global are leading the charge. According to Prime Minister Keir Starmer, these investments confirm Britain's place as a leader in global finance. He noted that by working with allies, they're creating jobs and boosting economic ties. The investments will also firmly establish Belfast as a major technology powerhouse. Now, let's take a closer look at some of the specific investments. Citigroup is investing $1.1 billion across its British operations, including growing its presence in Northern Ireland. Bank of America will create up to 1,000 jobs in Belfast, marking its first ever operation in Northern Ireland. S&P Global will invest over $4 million in its Manchester offices, supporting 200 permanent jobs. PayPal is investing $150 million in product innovations and growth, while BlackRock is expected to allocate $7 billion to the British market on behalf of clients in 2026. The company will also invest $500 million in enterprise data centers. President Trump's visit is expected to focus on boosting transatlantic economic ties. He'll be meeting with King Charles III and other royals, as well as Prime Minister Starmer. The trip is seen as an opportunity for both countries to strengthen their economic relationships and create new opportunities for growth. As we wrap up tonight's show, it's clear that these investments are a significant boost to the British economy. However, some critics have raised concerns about the impact of these investments on local communities and the environment. We'll continue to follow this story and provide updates as more information becomes available. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.